Now this is a segment, for those who don't know, where me and Mount Vernon Kid, we do these segments of videos where we talk about what would one character think of another. This isn't a fight video, but this is more like what would happen if this character encountered this other character. What would they think of each other, and how would they react to one another? And this one is, what would, if you saw from the title, what would Hellboy think of Alucard? Now, both of them do have a lot of similarities, where we have Hellboy, who was summoned by the Nazi Party to bring about the apocalypse and help the Nazis win the war, but however, he was raised by a professor and a group of people who later formed the BPRD, and he became their top agent to destroy any enemy monster or demon or whatever. And we have Alucard, who existed during World War II and is Count Dracula and works for a group called the Hellsing Organization, which he works for in this woman known as Integra Helsing, and he fights all sorts of supernatural beings, mostly vampires. These two would have a lot in common. I think these two would have a lot to say to each other. I think it would be interesting I think it would be funny to have Alucard and Hellboy just know each other, like they've worked together on several cases together, and they've encountered each other. But what would it be like if they ever, first encountered one another? Well, obviously they wouldn't like each other very much. But then, if they ever got to, if Alucard and Hellboy ever got to, sit down and just have a conversation between each other, I think they'd have a lot in common. I think they'd be very interested. I also have this funny image of my head of, when they're talking, Hellboy reaches over with a cigar and says, "Do you smoke?" And Alucard's just like, "No, I don't smoke. Do you?" And just Alucard in return offers him a vial of blood. He's like, "You drink?" Not that. I think it would be just an interesting exchange between those two in that regard. I think it would be cool for Alucard and Alucard and Hellboy to just have these conversations of what kind of monsters they fought, or it's like, "Oh, you fought Nazis before? Huh? Oh, yeah, I fought Nazis too. They were all a bunch of vampires, but still." I think they would just have a conversation between, they would just have these conversations just regarding each other, it's just the same shit, different day, and just talk about what kind of monsters they fought. I think Alucard would be impressed. I think Alucard would be generally impressed by Hellboy, but he'd be kind of wondering, you're the first being that's supposed to bring about the apocalypse. Can we get to that? I got a world to rule over, And I think Hellboy would be like, nah, it's not worth it. And I think it'd be interesting to also see Alucard and Hellboy, exchange guns. I think it would be hilarious to see, Alucard allow Hellboy the use of the jackals, and I think it'd be hilarious. Hellboy wants to try Alucard's guns. Alucard hands it to him. He fires them, and in turn, Hellboy allows Alucard to use the Samaritan. I think it would be hilarious to see Alucard use and I think it would be hilarious to just see them talk to each other like it's a normal thing to talk about what kind of guns they use. And it would also be interesting to see so you work with some monsters too, huh? And I think it would be. I think these two would get along pretty well. I think they'd work together on missions really well. I don't think they would fight necessarily. I think they would. I think Alucard would be a little too stiff, but he would be having some fun jokes here and there. And Hellboy would be eating this up. He's like, "I'm talking to one of the most powerful vampires in the world, and I'm having a drink with him." And I think it would be. I think they would. I think other things they would talk about is just their who they work with. I think Hellboy would be interested to know a lot about Ceres and Integra and the Hellsing Organization, because I think if the BPRD and the Hellsing Organization both existed in the same universe, they would obviously know of each other's existence. They wouldn't be like, "Oh, we're so secret, we don't know about the other one." I think it would be like the Hellsing Organization and the BPRD would keep tabs on one another. They would be I think they would also sometimes work together on joint tasks. Like if there was some kind of enemy threat that was attacking both the U.S. and Britain, I think they would be just basically comparing notes and trading agents to work together. I think that would be interesting. I think that would be a good way of looking at it. And I think it would also, Alucard would look at Hellboy and be like, "You're the most holiest being I've encountered that hasn't tried to kill me yet." And I think Hellboy would be generally disgusted by by Iscariot. I think he would be generally disgusted because he was raised to believe in God and all of this, and I think it would be it would be an insult to him and his father to to see this group who helped rescue Nazis, and it was a group that is very just a bunch of religious nuts, plain and simple. I think Hellboy would be generally disgusted by these people, and I think, but getting back to like them comparing notes, like their two organizations, I think Alucard would be interested to talk about Liz and Abe Sapien and Lobster Johnson. I'm going by comic books and not just the movies. Not just the movies. I'm going by the comics. I think he'd be really interested for them to talk to one another about their co-workers and how those guys operate. I think it would be great for also the other members of the Helsing organization talk to the members of the BPRD. I think it would be great to see Walter talk to Abe and Saris and Liz talk together, and also Lobster Johnson and oh god, what's his name? Leader of the Wild Geese. I'm forgetting his name. Oh my god, I'm forgetting. Why am I forgetting his name? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just really like I'm blanking on his name. It's been a while. It's funny too because I was watching some Hellsing stuff today, and I'm like, shit. Now it's bothering me. I'm sorry. Never mind. I'll just I'll think of it later. Never mind, guys. I'm sorry. That just really bothered me because it pissed me off that I completely forgot about it. I completely it just blinked from my mind of who that was. But if you know him, you probably, and if you've read Hellboy comics, then you you would agree with me on you would agree with me that him and Lobster Johnson would be the best of friends. I think they would just be hilarious. I think it would be hilarious to see the shit they would get into. But getting back to Hellboy and Alucard talking to one another again, I'm really sorry about that. That just really bugged me that I forgot the other guy's name. But I think it would be interesting to see them work together on like something involving Nazis or some kind of demon cult or something like that. And both of them just after the mission just be like, "Huh, you're all right. You too. We got to do this some other time." Yeah, sure. And they would just leave. Like it would just be another day in the life for those two. But in all honesty, I think Alucard would respect Hellboy, and Hellboy would be like, he ain't half bad. There would definitely be some kind of general respect for one another, but it would be interesting to see Alucard just be like, would you care? I want to test my abilities against an actual demon. And Hellboy would be like, all right, if it's an ass whooping you want, it's an ass whooping you'll get. So I think they would, Alucard would definitely try to gourd Hellboy into fighting him, and then all chaos ensues. But all in all, I think this would be a very, just these two working together would be amazing, and seeing them talk to one another would be cool, and I think they would have some general respect for one another. And getting Alucard's respect is something to behold. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and you guys tell me, what would you think would happen? What do you think Alucard and Hellboy would think of each other? Do you think they'd fight? Do you think they'd team up? Do you think they'd just have casual conversations with one another? You guys let me know. And also, once again, this isn't really a fight video, it's just more like, what would they think of one another? Anyway, I'm out.